Welcome back, Shalligators. Well, the news we've been waiting for 6 years. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West have filed for divorce after 6 years of marriage. And yes, we've been waiting for this literally since the day they got married. Before that, I have never understood this couple. That's not true. We have understood this couple because we have done a ton of videos breaking down the psychology of Kim and Kanye, about why narcissists kind of like each other, why these two stayed together for as long as they did, why Kim defended him and how confirmation bias kicks in, how to get away from a man who you know, or how to tell if a man is never going to change, how to get unstuck and move on. So if you guys want to catch up on all those topics, you can click on the Kim and Kanye playlist. I've covered so many different angles of this, but today I wanted to talk about messy breakups, because doesn't that just kind of come down to it? Don't we look at Kim and Kanye and we're like, oh my God, from Kanye like crying on stage, Trump is his own weird presidential rally, to, Kim posing without her wedding ring on Christmas. It's been messy and it's been petty for a while. So these two finally filed. Actually, Kim's lawyer, Laura Wasser, who is like the Mufasa of divorce attorneys. Woo, say it again, Mufasa, Laura Wasser. Mufasa Wassa. That's who she is. And she is no fucking joke. No clue who's representing Kanye yet. Tell me he's going to represent himself. That's a show. That's the trial of the century. And he'll do that to be the trial of the century that upstages Kim's own father, Robert Kardashian, who represented OJ, which was the previous trial of the century. I'm already excited for this. So we're going to break all that down. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on with Kim and Kanye behind the scenes. And like I said, how we can learn from this ourselves and grow right along with Kim. Because you know what? I'm happy for her. But before we get started, just be sure to follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO. Please sign up for my blog, Eat, Pray, Love. I'm going through my own breakup and new dating, and I'm in Miami now, and I might run into this Hurt Locker. I'll be talking all about it. Or if you want to connect with me via video and want a personalized video, pep talk, birthday shout out, anything like that, head on over to Cameo and find me at ShallonXO. And if you have a love question you want to submit and talk to me one-on-one, head to my website, shallonlester.com. So KK and KW. They filed for divorce, and this is all we know right now. We don't know a ton, but we have just known so much. We say we don't know a ton. We actually kind of know everything there is to know. This relationship has not been working for a long time, and I don't think that's Kim's fault. She seems like an incredible mother. I've interviewed her. A lot of my friends in journalism have interviewed her, and everyone has the same assessment of her. She's very present. Really? No, she's always taking selfies. No, she's not. When it's time for her to do something that she needs to do, give an interview, work on a clothing line, probably parent her children, she is extremely plugged in. From what I've seen, I haven't seen her parent, but I have seen her in work mode. And I was I've always been very, very impressed with her work ethic. And her work ethic is antithetical to the Jenners. Now, she's a Kardashian, all right? And all the Kardashians are like that. They worked for their fame. The Jenners, Kylie, Kendall, they're chewing gum and twirling their hair. Not really, but that's the vibe. Not people I would love to interview again. But Kim's always knocked my socks off in terms of, just what a businesswoman she is. And people she's just famous for a sex tape. Yeah, and she's a fucking billionaire almost. Are you? You sucked a lot of dick. You getting paid for it? I'm not. I'm giving it away like a fool, okay? So before we trash people like Kim and Paris, look at what they started with and look at where they've taken it. And maybe ask yourself, ooh, are you jealous? This isn't the place for jealousy or pettiness. Unless we're talking about Kim and Kanye being petty. Because I think most of us can look at this relationship and say that Kanye was the difficult party. From his fits of genius, to his wild financial expenditures. Yeezy is not a terribly profitable company. To the presidential run, talk about a wild, fruitless expenditure, to the things he said about Kim in public. Remember that thing Kim wanted to abort my daughter North, but I told her no. Kanye's mentally ill. We know this, he's bipolar. He's been upfront about that. But like I said in previous videos, it's hard to know where that ends and simply his personality begins. He is also a card-carrying narcissist, you know? I mean, he's self-aggrandizing and all that stuff. So it's... You can only medicate one thing. You can't medicate someone's personality. So Kim has really had her work cut out for her. And we've talked before about why these two were drawn to each other. Once upon a time, Kim was a cold-blooded animal, right? And if you're new here, we define that as someone who needs the love. They live for the likes. They live for the flash. They cannot regulate their own self-esteem. A huge example of this, perennially, has been Kylie. She's moving into like more of her own. I think being a mom has really given her such a boost of confidence. She's an excellent mom. And so it's cool to see their progression. But Kim has gone from this like self-aggrandizing thing to truly being more warm-blooded and pack building. Look at her work with the law and prisoner release. And you can shit on her for that. Are you running $1 billion empire and going to law school and getting people out of prison? No? You're watching Deal or No Deal in your underwear with like Cheeto stained sweatshirt? Okay, no, I'm just making sure. Just making sure. Again, before we shit on a woman who's changing the world when... Okay. So I have really enjoyed watching the progression, like the developing of Kim. And as she has developed more into her own woman, she's pulled away from Kanye. And part of that was having kids, and she's reoriented onto him, which happens a lot in marriages, you know? I think like Louis C.K. said it. He said it so well in like a comedy routine. He's like, you know, my wife, I love her and she's my other half and blah, blah, blah. Like I die for her. And then the second she had our daughter, I looked at her, I was like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I would die for this baby. Ryan Reynolds said the same thing. He's like, I would use my wife as a human shield to protect the baby. But that's parenthood. You know, you completely orient to these tiny little creatures. And someone like Kanye, a narcissist, doesn't appreciate that. They fit together because, like I said, when Kim was the cold-blooded animal and needed that adoration, no one worshipped her more than Kanye. She wasn't even attracted to him. I've also heard that they don't even live in that house together, and she despises that house. You know, that weird cream-colored house where everything is shaped like a cervix? That house. So apparently she hates it, and it's such a money pit. It's been done like 3 times. He's like, no, I need all the faucets to be made out of claymation clay. Just fucking whatever. And started it all over again. Before that, he worshipped her. He was Pygmalion and she was the little Galilea? Shit, I always forget the name of Pygmalions. That's because historically she didn't have a name. It's a Greek myth, anyway. He was like carving her out of stone and remaking her. Threw away all her clothes, revamped everything about her. And as she came into her own, she didn't want that. That didn't feel complimentary. It felt oppressive, right? And I just wonder how long she's been over it. Because when we look at this relationship, I think Kim has taken the high road a million times. Us Weekly did this whole breakdown of all the times she's defended him, from like his controversial comments, his political rants. Remember that slavery is a choice thing? Holy shit, oh my God almighty. And Kim's been there, like ride or die. And I'm sure many times it felt more like die than a ride. So we gotta talk about messy breakups, because that's what this comes down to. We as women, we do this all the time, right? We plug into a guy and we break him down. Like, here's the psychology, and his dad did this, and he's got this personality disorder, and and he's scared of love. And it's like we have this whole spiral-bound notebook printed out and fucking bound at Kinko's. They were like, look, here's a compendium of your trauma. Would you like me to explain it to you? And the guy's like, no. And just because we figure out what's wrong with someone, then what? Then we have embedded ourselves in the therapist-patient dynamic. Woo, that's sexy. It's not sexy. No one wants to fuck their therapist. No guy's like, ooh, I just jerk off to my therapist. No, they don't. They don't want to have sex with someone who is a physical reminder of everything that's wrong with them, right? We set up a parent-child dynamic in the same way, and that there's not a lot of no. These are inherently very unsexy dynamics, and therefore, once you take away the sexual chemistry and the sex appeal from a relationship, you're left with a best friend. Only they're not your best friend. They're annoying as fuck. There's someone talking about your possible abortions. There's someone spending all your money to run for president. There's someone tweeting that your mother is Chris Jong-un. That's not what my best friend does. That's what my enemy does. And when you stop wanting to have sex with someone, that's how you start to see someone. It's like, you again, in my house, eating all my nachos. What are you doing here? What towel's on the floor? Ha! So again, I wonder how long this has been over for them. But the reason we're talking about this is because, like I said, we can go through a guy's whole history and blah, blah, blah. And at some point we're sitting here with our notebook of his trauma, our PowerPoint presentation of all the psychology breakdowns of this guy and why he's just afraid to love. And what the fuck do we do with that, girl? At some point, you literally just have to walk away. You have to lead that horse to water. You led that horse to water. How's the other half of that saying go? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I ride horses a lot. And let me tell you, it is true. You know that they're hot. You know that they're thirsty. And you're there at the water thing after a 4-mile ride. And you're like, can you just drink the water so you don't drop dead on the way back to the trailer? And they're like, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. I want to get half a mile down the road and then decide I'm thirsty and start stamping and whinnying. You're like, this is Kanye West. And this is the guys that we date too, right? It's like, can you not just see that you have these abandonment issues and you could fix them if you do X, Y, and Z? And they're like, no, I don't want to. So when do you walk away? Well, we've done a video on how to know if a guy is going to change, the signs he won't, and when to leave a broken man. But again, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about messy breakups. And when we talk about a mess, I know what you're thinking. Well, yeah, I'm going through a messy breakup right now because he just keeps calling me, or he's hitting on all my friends all the time, or he's subtweeting all this weird shit. How do you know that? How do you know what he's subtweeting? How do you know that he's calling you? It's because he's still got access to you? Well, I haven't blocked him. I don't want to look petty. You look petty now. We are the architects of our own misfortune. We are the architects of our own misfortune. I have never gotten into a petty, dramatic, shitty breakup situation, fuckboy situationship that I didn't have any sort of hand in. I wasn't some sort of romantic hostage. Yes, people were doing things that I didn't incite, that I didn't want, that I didn't like. But again, I only knew about those things because I was still looking at them. I saw a quote about this, on Instagram the other day. It was about haters. It's haters are only bothered by you because they're watching so hard. And I was like, whoa, that's true. I'm not bothered by Hulk Hogan. But again, I'm not, or Teresa Giudice's daughter, Gia, Brielle Bierman. I don't know what they're doing. They could be saving the turtles. They could be spray painting swastikas. I have no idea because I'm not bothered. So in your life, if you have these bothersome situations, it's because on some level you're plugged into it. This isn't a video blaming you. You're the messy one. But look, girl, it takes two to tango. And when we tell ourselves otherwise, he's the crazy one, he just went crazy, we're going to find ourselves in these situations again. You know how I know that? Because I did it for about 10 years. I don't want drama. I don't want drama. They want drama. Who in the hell was I trying to fool? Who was I trying to fool? I didn't fool anyone. Everyone's like, okay, Shallon, sure. When I actually turned the corner in my life, I'm like, no, I actually don't want drama. It was after my marriage ended, and I'm like, I just want peace. I want peace in my life. All my behaviors changed, right? I was blocking numbers willy fucking nilly. I was muting people on Instagram. I was full out blocking them. I wasn't subtweeting. You know what I did? I bought myself a diary. Instead of, here's every feeling I have and it's on the internet. Meh. Because until I was doing that, until I was willing to privatize my own emotions, I was not wanting other people to privatize their emotions. Do you know what I mean? If I was okay with everyone else in my life, like boyfriends and bad friends and whatever, like being drama and like living out loud in my face, that gave me a license to do it too. I'm a communicator. I'm a sharer. Look what I do for a living. I liked the drama too because it gave me a license. We see this in a very crystal clear way with Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick. I've always said that what she hates about him is actually what she loves about him. And a lot of times we hear that in reverse. Like, we know the guys what they start out loving about us is what they end up hating. I talked about this recently in my blog. It's like, because guys, I've encountered like this string of guys who like either call me a slut or imply that I'm a slut. And it's all based on like good things. Like, I have a nice house. It's like, what are you doing in that big house? I'm like, what on earth are you implying? You know, things like that. It's like they like that I'm ambitious until, well, what do you mean you can't hang out with me 6 nights a week? They like that I'm like funny and witty, and that's like, you always got something smart to say. But Kourtney's the opposite. What she hates about Scott, his messiness, his substance abuse, his volatility, actually, that's what she stays plugged into. Because as long as he's a mess, she can be a mess too. Because she's never going to be messier than him. She could fuck 5 guys in a day. He's probably fucked 7 girls, right? As long as she stays just below where he's at, she wins. So who doesn't want someone that keeps the bar like so high and yet so low at the same time? So when we look at the messy people in our life, we have the obligation to ourselves, not to the internet, not to anybody else, to ourselves to be like, what emotional payout am I getting from this? Nobody stays in a situation that they are not getting an emotional payout from. No one stays someplace that doesn't work. You just don't. Right? You don't. There's something you're getting out of this. No, I hate this. Do you? Because you keep going back to it. I wrote about this on my blog too. Because I was in this like cycle with this fuckboy, and I wrote that I was like driving around. I was like, I hate this. Because like he texted me something mean. I responded. Then he left me on red, and I'm like, I was foaming at the mouth about it. And I'm like, I laughed out loud as I was driving. I was like, you're such a fucking clown, Shallon. You don't hate this at all. You love this. And how do I know that? Because you've experienced it more than once. Well, you know what? We'll give you the benefit of that. More than twice. 3rd time is a pattern, right? Once happens, twice is a coincidence, 3rd time is a pattern. And this was like time maybe 75. So I'm like, okay, you can call him a clown. He's the circus. I'm the one who keeps buying front row seats. Oh, step right up. Here we go. Why? My personal thing, the reason I have dramatic or messy relationships is because I'm bored. And it's crazy because I'm not bored. I'm incredibly busy all the time. And my relationship satisfaction, like my healthy relationships, correlated extremely sharply with this career going well, right? The more fulfilled I felt with this career, the less I wanted drama in my life. And that's kind of why my last relationship ended. I didn't have, it wasn't not drama, but it's like, it just didn't have the emotional bandwidth to give. And I'm overcorrecting where it's like before I wanted like drama, because I was a corporate drone and I don't care about anything. I need drama. Now I'm like, I am so happy and so fulfilled 100% on my own. I don't even want to go to lunch. I don't want to hear about your day. I can't hear about anything. I only care about myself. It's too far over to the other side. But that means we're going to swing back into equilibrium, right? We're going to find the happy middle of the pendulum. And for me, boredom is death. It reminds me of being like stifled as a child or bored as a child. I cannot fucking handle it. But it might be something different for you. Usually it's something along the lines of distraction. Someone is distracting you from something you don't want to focus on. I have never psychologically worked up a dude harder than when I was avoiding something in my own life. When I was fat and out of shape, probably should have been focusing on my health. When I was like broke and not really doing my work, probably should have been focusing on my career. When I moved to a new city and I didn't have any friends, so I was like hyper focused on a dude. That focus, that drama, stop looking at it like the disease itself. Look at it as a symptom of a disease. A disease that has nothing to do with this guy. It's over here in your life. It's over here in your life. When I notice that my life is getting dramatic, when I'm like fighting with a guy, blah, 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 I force myself, because I don't want to, I force myself to pull back and be like, baby girl, Peacock, what's going on, Peacock? What's that from? It's the Golden Girls. Peacock. That's what my mother called me because I was so beautiful. I don't think peacocks are beautiful. They got skinny necks and they attack chickens. I could do the whole episode. I pull back and I say, Peacock, why are you doing this? What are you running from? Why is this little Rubik's Cube of a man, so much more enticing than your own life? Why does it seem easier or less painful to try to fix him or to try to get back at him, try to scream at him? What should you actually be screaming at? I screamed at a guy the other day. Screamed my fucking head off because he deserved it. But I'm like, this is not the usual response for me. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a confronter, like maybe on the internet, but like not in my interpersonal relationships. But it's because I was having all of these existential feelings about something else that was going on in my life, like a friendship thing. And I'm like, okay, so it sounded like I was screaming, but let's say it was a cough, right? Because that means it was a symptom. What is the disease? I'm not going to take cough syrup, which would be to just keep plugging into this and just try to quiet my response in this one category. No. I'm going to do an emotional Z-Pack, and I'm going to figure out what's going on and why I felt compelled to have that response so hardcore. And no, it's not fun. Going to the doctor isn't fun. Taking drugs isn't fun. What? Medicine drugs, regular drugs. But if we don't do that, we're going to find ourselves in these messy drama loops again and again and again. Because as much as we want to blame everyone else for the drama and the heartbreak, who's the common denominator, baby girl? Who's the common denominator? A fair amount of people despise me. It's very strange. Get a life. Almost all of them started out as fans, which is the strangest part of all. And I think about it. I'm like, what makes someone flip like that? Like people who I've interacted with and only in a positive way, I've answered a question or we've interacted on Instagram or something. They're like, I love you. I'm like, I love you. And then it's like you wake up one day and you're like, I hate her. That's what a crazy person does. But I realize it's because those kinds of people know on some level that they're the common denominator and they don't want to fix it. Or they don't feel like they can. And so instead, it's like someone who goes to the doctor and they blame the doctor for the diagnosis. They lash out at the doctor. Like, how dare you tell me I need to go on a Z-Pack? Fuck you, doc. I'm going back to the NASCAR race. The doc's like, okay, man, you're not going to get better. Fuck you. I'm Gary motherfucking Appletree. Or whoever. Don't be Gary Appletree, It's natural to not want to do the work, to not want to take the emotional medicine. But you're just gonna stay sick. And it's not the doctor's fault, right? And that sucks. It sucks when you finally get that memo after all those brunches where your friends tried to tell you what was going on. After all those times your brother sat you down and was like, enough of this shit. And you're like, no! It feels humiliating. And that's why we feel humiliated when a relationship ends. Because on some level, we're finally realizing what we always knew. This wasn't working. This was the distraction. I am the common denominator. I actually have some work to do on myself. Everyone was right. It's a shitty feeling, right? I mean, if we could have decided Kim's life, voted on committee, if this was a Kimocracy, that we all could vote, we would have voted Kanye West out of her life probably a long time ago. We all saw the writing on the wall. We saw how capable and intelligent and upwardly mobile and plugged in she is. And we saw that he's just kind of like this kite in a windy sky. I'm not saying it's his fault, but it is what it is, right? And that isn't a situation she needed to stay plugged into, if for nothing else, the sake of her children, for crying out loud. And she deserves to be having a lot of sex. Isn't it funny how she's sexy but not sexual? I don't think of Kim as particularly sexual. Who's the most sexual? Courtney? Because she gets down. Yeah, I bet Khloe gets down. I don't think Kendall gets down. I don't think Kylie, I don't know. Scott gets down, obviously. Kris gets down. But good for her. Good for her. She looks like my mom, so it like weirds me out when she talks about sex. I'm like, Mom. So if you want to avoid an outcome like Kim, which is divorce number 3 by 40, that's 1 per decade, right? Like literally I think she got married at like, 2019 the first time. I mean, it's on par with 1 per decade. We have to do that work, and it sucks. We have to take ourselves to the emotional doctor, and we have to really look at the diagnosis and understand that, okay, it might not be our fault that we are like this, but it is something we're in control of, okay? It's not about fault. It's not about where it came from. Who fucking cares where it came from? Whether it's your parents or an ex-boyfriend or yourself or you read the wrong self-help books, whatever. When you realize you're sick, if you get the flu or whatever, no one's like shaming you for how you got it unless you're like licking subway poles or something weird. They just focus on getting you better. It's like, it doesn't matter how it happened. It's here now. I'm living in the present. I'm going to maybe be curious about where I got it, but that's it. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to focus on healing and getting better. Let's take that attitude with our mind and our emotion and our relationships so we can move through the world healthier. I'm personally super happy for Kim. You know, I love it when people get divorced, not because I hate love, because it means that they're taking control of their life and something wasn't working. And one of them stood up and was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I deserve better. You deserve better. The kids deserve better. The dog deserves better. North's weird hamster deserves better. Let's all move forward in the light of the truth and get the future we want and deserve. I want to know your thoughts on KKW, just Kim and Kanye, and who should she date? I want her to date like a Swiss banker or like a Texas oil millionaire, right? That's what she needs. She needs like a dude who's business-minded, who's just gonna love her for the businesswoman she is. I will see you later, Shalligators. We'll be back with a video on Rihanna to celebrate her blessed birthday.